Hi there, welcome to Transformer Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2023 Forest River Palomino 147H. We are just going to start off with the back of the unit. You got your spare tire located right in the back there. And then because this is a hybrid camper, you do have fold-out beds that have the front and rear. We are moving away. Today we're just going to open up the rear ones. We can give you that time, not having to watch the same thing twice. So you can open up the handles and clasping them. Just being careful because once you unclasp that, that is going to want to start moving down on you. Push that down like so. You can leave that down and we'll finish the rest of the sheet. Take it to the side. Coming around to the driver's side of the unit. You got your rear bumper cap pulling on that tube. Pulls right out of place. That is where we store your sewer hose. You got those 2 ears there. It's the same ears that's going to hook up to your sewer outlet. We do keep that stored in the back bumper just to keep as much smell out of the unit as possible. Placing this cap back into place. You got your stabilizer jacks. You do have one in all four corners of the unit. It's important you do use them. It's just going to take any bouncer straight you see we have in the unit right now away. You got your 3/4 inch drive nut, running that foot down to the ground. Once the foot does contact the ground, just giving another 8 1/4 turn to snug it up. It's going to take any bouncers away we have in the unit right now away. In addition to that, they are stabilizing jacks. They're not leveling jacks. Please don't try and use them as so, otherwise you do run the risk of bending them. Same goes if you're running them up or down with an impact. Just keep in mind how much torque you put on them. And then you got your main power cord inlet twist lock connection. This is a 50 amp connection. So you're just taking note of that silver strip there. It lines up with this silver strip on this side. Once you firmly push that into place, 8th turn to lock it down, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 50 amp plug-in. Now a lot of campsites, especially here in Manitoba, don't have 50 amp service, so that's why we do include this 30 amp dog bone adapter so that you can plug right on in. And then we do also include a 15 amp adapter to go to a standard household outlet down from that 30. Just keep in mind, if you are using that adapter, you won't be able to run your air conditioner on 15 amp service. Coming a little more ahead here, get your main sewer outlet, twisting that cap off. Sometimes it can be a little tight. You just take a note of those notches. It was the same ones your sewer hose had. They just line up like so. Twist and lock into place. And then you do have your black valve and your gray valve. You always want to empty your black valve first. It's going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. And then you can come behind that with your gray valve, which is typically cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. Got your black tank flush. So let's say you're noticing an odor around the unit or some false monitor panel readings. It's a good idea to flush that tank out after every few uses, but it's very important to read the caution sticker, just letting you know that if you are using that black tank flush, you do have to have your sewer connected and your black tank valve open. Reason being, if you're pushing pressure inside of the tank and that pressure's got nowhere to go, it could expand that tank to the point of cracking. Couple cable satellite hookups here. Then you got your furnace exhaust. Whenever your furnace is running, this is going to be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Then if we look down below the unit here, you got your fresh tank drain. So opening up that guy does drain out your fresh tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of. And then you got your 2 low point drains. So that's just to try and drain as much water out of the lines as possible, keep anything from going stale or stagnant inside the lines. It's also a good idea to open those guys up after you're done winterization. You get your city water connection, so if you're at a site with service, you can just thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the needing to run your water pump. And then you do have your fresh water connection fill. So if you're out boondocking or your site just doesn't have water, you can put a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to fill up that fresh tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of. In this front compartment here, we do include a 50 little water hose, that 15 amp park adapter, which I told you about. And then we do also include that 3/4 inch manual drive tool. Up on the wall, you got your battery disconnect switch with it in the on position like it is now. The batteries are connected to the unit. If you were to turn that to the off position, the batteries would become disconnected from the unit. Around the front, you got your battery located inside that box there. And underneath this cover is your 2 propane tanks. Most of the time, you can get what you need done just by loosening off those tabs, flipping that guy open. You get access to the top of both your tanks. Fold it up. For the purpose of the video, I'll just slide that right out of place so you can see it take them off. Just loosening that guy off, and you have to disconnect the lines, obviously. You got 2 20-pound propane tanks. Works pretty much like any standard barbecue. Counterclockwise, all the way, nice and slowly, to open up the flow of propane to the unit. Now on your front of your selector your regulator, you got your selector valve. With it pointed this way, you're gonna be drawing off this tank. If this tank were to go empty, you just have to close it, disconnect it, flip this over to the other side and start drawing off this tank while this one's getting filled up. Right on this side here, it's the other side of your storage compartment. You're gonna see that weight distribution, which is the top you can go with. And then you got your furnace, your hot water heater service port. Whenever you first get to your campsite, given that pressure relief valve pull, there should be a shot of water coming out of there letting you know that the tank's full. We do currently have the tank drained, ready for you to pick up because we're not sure when you're going to be using it next. And we're going to go over a reset procedure once we get inside. The button I'm going to refer to is just right here. 1/8" drain bolt way down there at the bottom. And then you're going to notice this on-off switch. With the switch in the off position, you're going to be firing it on gas. If you were to turn that to the on position, it's going to fire it up on electric. Now, if you do fire that up on electric, just always making sure you do double check that the tank's full, because even if you do have that on for 5 or 10 seconds without any water inside the tank, you can burn out that probe, so you're not going to want to do that. And just lining all that back up, close it, lock it into place. Couple exterior outlets, get your exterior speakers. Then right up top here, you got this little vent here. Opening this guy up, that does open up the vent for the range hood so that you can evacuate those fumes as you make them. And then whenever you're traveling, just pushing and snapping it into place. That way you're not getting any excess dust inside the unit. Now for the best part, to get inside, taking that assist handle, pushing it up, holding it 90 degrees, it's gonna lock in place. It's gonna allow you to open up your door. You have to have your door opened up all the way so that you can fold down your stairs. You do have adjustable campsite. You do have adjustable feet on your stairs, so you can adjust them to your campsite needs for nice and level stairs. Just having to count the corresponding slots, pulling on that blue latch to open them up, and then just fold it right down like so. Taking a step on inside, first thing you notice off on the right is that fire extinguisher, which is pretty much just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. Then on the wall here, you got pretty much your main monitor panel, control panel. Living room lights are all just on that button. It's going to turn on your couple living space lights. The rest of the lights in the unit are on their own center push buttons. You got an awning light, which turns on some awning spotlights they have on the side of the awning. Water pump switch, turning that on. That's what draws out of your fresh tank. Then you got your water heater switch, turning that on. You're going to see this DSI fault light come on. The water heater is going to try lighting itself 3 times. If on the 3rd try it doesn't light, this light's going to stay on. At that point, you do just have to turn this off, go hit that reset button I showed you earlier, and then try turning it back on. It could be a purging issue, and we'll go over your purging when we get to the stove. You got your awning control, pretty standard. Hit that extend button. The awning's going to start rolling its way out. Once it is at its full extension, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down. Sometimes the flap can get stuck, so you might just have to retract it a little bit and then try pulling it back out again. Just to try that, get that to come down. Tube. For to start raining, you can take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to not run off. Now, if you like that angle better, it's going to allow more shade underneath. You can do the same thing with the front arm. Just making sure that you do push both these arms back straight before you try bringing your awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. So whenever you have your awning out, you're always going to want to make sure you keep an eye on the wind speeds. Once you start picking up to about 5 km/h winds, you're going to want to make sure you bring it in. That way you don't run the risk of bending your arms or ripping your fabric. It gets pretty pricey pretty quick. To retract it, you just hold the button. Awning's going to start rolling its way in. Once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motor's going to automatically cut out. Now, if you had to roll that awning in while it was wet, it's not the end of the world, not a big deal, but just try and remember at your next earliest convenience to try and roll it back out and allow it time to dry off. That way you don't accelerate the growth of mold or mildew inside of there. And now the arms are contacting the side of the trailer, so the motor's automatically cut out. You got your monitor panel system over here. Pushing the tank gives you the corresponding level. It's going to tell you have a black tube. It's going to tell you have an aux and a gray 2, but you don't. It's just black and gray 1. So we're going to just turn on a couple more lights in here so we can see a little bit better. In this back bed space, you got this little clip here. That's just to hold that mattress in place whenever you're traveling. So we can unclip it. We like to keep that bar in between the mattress. So we're reaching down inside of there, picking that bar up. Now you're gonna have to kind of move the mattress out of the way, lift up the canvas a little bit. That'll allow you to pick up the rear bar that you're going to be pushing this into. So you're going to want to pull that out, flip it around so the hook's facing the front of the trailer. Take this straight section and just clip it into the black corresponding slot for it on that front bar. Once that's in there, push it out, and you've made yourself your front and your rear bed. Front bed's going to work the same way, and then you just fold out that mattress and lay it down in place, and you are ready to camp. Storage down below, tons of storage throughout this unit. Just being mindful of drains, water lines, and things like that. You're not going to be wanting to affect any of that. You got your binder here. It's going to contain any keys or manuals for the unit. Kitchen space, pretty self-explanatory for the most part. Sink. Down below you got a bunch of storage. Up top storage, you get your microwave. Again, pretty much just like home. Range hood, I always recommend running your range hood whenever you're running your stove. That way you're evacuating those propane fumes. And since we're talking about that, you got your LP detector right over here near the couch, near the ground. If that guy does ever start going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit and open up some windows and vents to get some fresh oxygen inside of here. Now, whenever you turn the propane system off, it allows air into the lines. Once the air is into the lines, it does have to be purged out. Quickest, easiest way to do that is just by running your stove. The reason I say that is because you get to decide how many cycles it does and how long the cycles are for. If you were to try to fire up your furnace or your water heater before you purged it through the stove, you could get a fault code at you, because those will only try lighting themselves a few times before they'll throw a fault code. If you don't know what the fault code means, it could throw a little frustration in your weekend, which we do want to try to avoid. So that's why, again, I just recommend running your stove, but of course being safe whenever you are running it. You're going to want to turn it over to that high option and hit the sparker. Now, it fired up pretty quickly today just because I had the system running earlier. Sometimes it can take a few minutes, so you do just have to be patient with it. And whenever you are running that gas valve on, just always making sure you're hitting the sparker every few seconds. Failure to do so could allow for a buildup of gas. Once that's there, if you were to hit that sparker, it could cause a minor combustion, and if your face was close to it, you might lose some eyebrows and eyelashes. Again, that's going to be something we're going to want to avoid. So that's why just being safe whenever you are using it. To get the oven to light, it's the same thing pretty much. Turning it over to the pilot option, pushing and holding the button in. Looking down below over here, you're going to hit that sparker. Now this could take exceptionally long to purge just because the gas orifice for the pilot is so small, so it only allows a little bit out at a time. But once you're able to get that pilot lit and it's able to hold its own without you pressing down on the button, you can turn it up to your desired temperature and it does fire right on up. And then of course you got this little button here. It's going to turn on your oven light as well as some illumination lights. Right down below, you got your little breaker panel and fuse panel. Whenever breaker trips, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. You have all your corresponding fuses up top. Over on the left here, you're going to notice this little false panel that's got 4 screws in each corner. That is what gives you access to your water heater for winterization. And the water pump is going to be located underneath this dinette seat over here. Well, we can take a peek into the bathroom. The light switch is just on your right. Pretty much your standard bathroom, toilet, sink, shower. Storage all around. You got a vent lid inside of here. This is a fantastic vent. So if you turn this guy counterclockwise, it's going to allow you to open up that vent lid. Once you get that vent lid all the way open, you're going to notice we do open up straight into the atmosphere. So if it were to start raining and you forgot it open, it's going to get wet inside here. And if you were to forget this open while traveling, there is a risk that you run with damaging it just with the wind speeds. If you want to avoid all that, you can get a cover that goes over top of it. Our parts department would be more than happy to help you out with getting set up with that. It's a cover that goes over top of here. It's also going to protect you against hail damage on that vent lid. And again, it's going to keep things wet inside or dry inside of here if you needed to run that vent while you're doing your business or showering. Counterclockwise or clockwise all the way to tighten it up. Once you feel it snug up, just push up on the handle. That locks it into place. The fan controls are just in that one corner there. Next, you got your thermostat on the wall here. So pushing the button once it illuminates itself and turns you into the fan mode. Now that's just moving air around with the air conditioner, no heating or cooling involved. Mode button one more time will bring you into the cool setting, up or down at any time to change your set temperature. Now where it says fan here, you can see it says fan on, and we're in the high fan setting. Now that's going to run full time regardless of what you have the room set to. If you want it to become an on-demand system, you do have to have the auto on there. You can run that on either auto high or auto low, and essentially what that does is if the room's at 20 and you want it down to 15, the air conditioner is going to run continuously until the room reaches 15. Once that room does reach 15 degrees, it'll automatically cut out the air conditioner just so you're conserving a little bit of power. Mode button one more time is going to kill the air conditioner and fire up the furnace. The furnace does only have one fan speed. It moves all its air through the floor portals we have throughout the unit. The air conditioner uses the ceiling ducting and this dump station, so you can either dump all the air down here, or you can close that off and push it a little bit throughout the space here. Mode button one more time will psych you over back to off. Next, you do have your fridge, so you can open up that guy. Freezer up top, fridge down below. The controls for that are all just right here. We've got coldest, and then of course cold, and then back over to off. Whenever you've had this running for a few days and you turn it off, it's always a good idea to allow it time to cool down, so leave the doors open, allowing all the cold air to make its way out. It's probably going to have a lot of moisture inside of there, so the best thing to do is have a rag handy just to dry it off, and that's just going to help stop any mold or mildew growing. Got your little stereo system up top again, pretty much just like home, minus the fact of your different zones. You got zone A, which is inside, zone B, which is outside. Your dinette space. Now this also does turn out to a bed. Just having to remove the feet from underneath the table, set your tabletop on its desired ledges, so you can take your back cushion to fill in the center. And let's say you had an extra guest other than that, you can lift up on the foot of the couch, pull it towards you, push it down, and then once that would be folded into a bed, you got a lot of bed space. Again, you got that front bed, which is going to work the same way as the rear one. I've already showed you that. Fire exit, and then of course all the blinds do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. One quick pull will allow them to retract back up. You got your TV backer, which is located right here, so if you're wanting to mount one, that's going to be the best place to do so. All the hookups are right up top here, including a couple of USB plugins, and then you got this little black button here. Turning that on turns the red light on. It's going to turn the antenna on the roof. Now that's also going to improve radio frequency and cell phone frequency. So we typically recommend leaving it on whenever you're camping, but do try to remember to turn it off whenever you're not using the unit. That way you're not drawing any battery power. Now that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.